Now that we've looked at some fairly basic fundamental shading networks, we can begin to look at some more slightly complex examples that are going to lead up to some of the more intricate networks that we'll be building later on in this kit. So for this particular example, what we're going to be working with is just a hanging lamp. Okay, and this hanging lamp is just a NURBS surface. And the shading network that we're going to be constructing is to give this lamp a nice illuminated look, like it's being illuminated from the inside. And the way that we'll be doing that is with a slight variation on a double-sided shader. So let's go ahead and take a look at the hypershade. And let's start off by just building a simple blend material. Okay, and this blend will be our lamp. Okay. Now, since this is a double-sided shader that we're going to be building, we're going to need two nodes right off. The first is the condition node, and the second is the sampler info node. Okay, both of these can be found underneath the general utility nodes. Okay, and both of these nodes are explained in quite a lot of detail in the Digital Tutors Mastering Render Nodes kit, so I'm not going to spend just a great deal of time talking about what each one of these do. So, for example, let's go ahead and just shift, middle click, and let's connect the flipped normal of the sampler info into the first condition of our condition 1, or the first term of our condition 1. Okay, so basically what we've got, the condition is looking at whether or not the normals are going to be flipped on whatever surface we apply this to. Okay, and since we're going to be building a double-sided shader, we need to now go in and determine the colors on the two different sides of this shader that we're going to be building. Okay, so let's use a solid fractal for the outside part of this lamp. And we can go in and adjust the colors of this solid fractal so that we have something that's maybe a little bit more colorful. So let's go ahead and make this kind of an orange color. Okay, so now we have this solid fractal that's sort of orange, and that'll be the outside color of this lamp. For the inner color, I want it to be more of a white. So let's go ahead and make a ramp. This is a pretty simple way to make just a nice white color. Let's go ahead and just eliminate all but one color of this ramp, and we'll make that one color white. Okay, so now we have just a nice solid white color. Okay, so now we have the sampler info plugged into the condition. Now we have to tell this condition which side of this NURB surface is going to have which color. So let's go ahead and double click on the condition, and for the solid fractal, the outside color of this lamp, we'll middle click and drag this into the color if true. Okay, and we'll take the ramp, middle click, and drag it into color if false. Okay, and we'll take this whole thing, take this condition node, and plug this into the color of this lamp material. Okay, we'll go ahead and assign this to the surface, and let's take a render of what we've got. Okay, and we get pretty much what we would expect to get back. We now have the outer part of this NURB surface that has this solid fractal, and the inner part has this white solid colored ramp. Okay, pretty standard double-sided shader. But what we want to be able to do is now give this more of an illuminated look, really look like there's light being emitted from the inner part of this surface. So let's go ahead and add a few more nodes into this shading network. Let's first of all add another condition node. So let's go ahead and add one. Okay, so we've got now one new condition node. And let's go ahead and take this same sampler info, shift, middle click, and let's connect the flip normal into the first term of this one. Okay, so we have two condition nodes that pretty much have the exact same connection to this sampler info. Okay, this condition, this second condition that we added, is actually going to be controlling the glow of this NURB surface. So what we can do is let's shift, middle click, and let's connect the out color into the glow intensity of this blend material. So I believe the glow intensity is right here. And if you look very closely, you can see that this glow intensity, the text is kind of that sort of a greenish blue color, which is showing that we really can't make a connection right now. But if we expand this out color and select, for example, color R, this is now showing that we can make a connection. This text is now just plain black. So let's connect out color R into this glow intensity. Okay, and let's take a look at what we've got. Okay, and now what we have is a pretty sizable amount of glow that's happening on the inner part of this surface. Well, why is that? Why is there glow happening just in this one part? Well, that's because if we take a look at this condition, we have the color if true set to 0 and the color if false set to 1. Now, if we take a look at this other condition that we made first, the color if false is actually this white color that we have out here. So all of this glow, right now it's determining that the glow is set to 1 on the inner part of the surface, and the glow is set to 0 on the outer part of this surface. So if we wanted a little bit of glow to be happening on the outer part of that surface, we could raise this number just a little bit. Let's say something like 0.3. Now remember, we connected only the, go ahead and minimize this. If you look at this connection, we only connected the out color R to the glow intensity. So to change this, all we need to change is this one R value that's in this first checkbox. So let's take a look at what we've got. And now we actually have a little bit of glow that's happening on this outer part of the surface. Okay, so depending on what angle you want to be able to achieve, if you orbit it down to the top, you now have a little bit of illumination that's happening on this outer part. And if you orbit down underneath, you have now a pretty sizable amount of glow that's happening from the inside, really giving this the look that there is a light, a very bright light source inside that's illuminating this entire object. But we've managed to achieve this look without having to use any lights at all. So this is how we can use a fairly intermediate level shading network to achieve this very nice illuminated look without really having to get too detailed into lights and shadow setup and all of that. So in the next level, or in the next lesson, we'll keep looking at more shading networks that you can use in your everyday work.